Hello, everyone. Welcome to Telling Tales. We do atmospheric role-playing stuff here, which you probably already know because you're watching. Hi, I'm Matt. I'm your GM for this evening and indeed all this series of Symbaroum. And it is our final episode of Symbaroum for the year. We're going to take a 2-week break after this, so we will be back with you on Wednesday, the 6th of January. So mark that day in your diaries. It's the most important thing that could possibly be happening in 2021. I'm sure you'll agree. We will have a couple of streams for you potentially over the next couple of weeks, kind of random ones, more podcast style. We'll announce those on our social media. And speaking of which, it's all listed down below, mostly Telling Tales RP, but there's a few different ones. And our YouTube is also down there with all the VODs for all the series so far, and our Patreon, because everyone has a Patreon. That's got through everything. That's all of the intro. Although that's a lie, because we also need to say hello to John, our stream manager. Hello, John, who'll be turning up here. There we go. There's John. John works all the stream from the back end. Does things like flash up pictures, move around cams, interacts with chat, all that good stuff. If you've got any comments or questions you want addressed to the end, pop them into the chat and John will pluck them out like an overripe fruit and splash them on the screen for us to discuss after the session. Don't look at me. I don't know what's happening either. I have no control over my face or mouth.
I think I need to leave now.
I think everyone probably needs to leave now. And with that in mind, let's bring people in. So let's bring in our players and we can recap the events of last week. Let's start with Mike, who plays Anton, our resident holy man, healer ? And well, he looks great in a robe. That's all we're saying. Hi, Mike.
Hi, Matt. Good to be here. Awesome.
Yes.
Excited for this. Excited to see what happens next.
Very professional. I like it. So last week, picked up with you guys leaving the River Maiden, the riverboat that had taken you up north towards the Forest of Davakar. What happened then, Mike?
Yeah, so we finished off our journey on the River Maiden, which sort of went along without any major incidents. We left on amicable terms with the captain of the River Maiden, and then we sort of had to sort out our affairs with Harasto, who had promised us 10% of his booty, or his goods, I suppose we should call it. So we stayed in a pub while he went off to sort of make some arrangements for that, and then we were taken to an old sort of warehouse building where further things happened.
Further things did indeed happen, and to take us through them, let's bring on Chris. He plays Steo, our curmudgeonly veteran warrior, and I don't know what he could have had to do with this next bit, because surely shocking violence was not about to break out.
Absolutely not. Just a standard gentleman's agreement between friends, except not that. So we went in to this dodgy, clearly dodgy sector of the town to meet with the buyers for his loot. He brought us into a kind of warehouse, disused warehouse, had me kind of stand at the door as security and everyone else wait outside, very tactically of him. And then told the lads who were in there, who weren't buyers at all, but were in fact hired goons, to have us, and dashed out the back door. Of course, anyone who's been watching any of the episodes so far will know that if you send mooks up against Ephenea, you're going to end up with a lot of nasty, greasy puddles. And I think we mopped them up in about 4 or 5 turns.
It definitely didn't take long for Ephenea to turn several of them from goons into kind of goons spread out over a wider area than they really would have liked.
I actually picked one of the surviving ones up and set him on his way. No harm, no foul. Look, you're just doing your job, aren't you? And what he didn't really give me all that much information other than to let me know that Harasto was in fact basically the local well-recognized dodgy dealer. And at that point I kind of lost interest in trying to pursue a guy who has like crime networks in the town that we were just visiting overnight.
Yeah, and I think that he got away out the back, and it was generally agreed that you'd move on. At which point you left this town, Jakar, to go kind of up the coast and stop in overnight at a village that our next player, Elle, who plays Ephenea, or our fearsome barbarian warrior.
That is me.
Well, basically, it was your aunt's village, and there you got some help.
Yes, we did indeed. So we arrived, much to the shock of pretty much everyone else in the party, to find my older, sturdier clone. As it turns out that my aunt is in fact my namesake. And we basically asked if she'd be able to provide us with any sort of assistance. Not in the form of guides, which is kind of what we hoped. But unfortunately, apparently, the family is just spread thin at the moment. But she did provide us with kayaks and food and some gentle ribbing of her niece.
Yes.
It's nice to make Ephenea seem small sometimes when usually she is cleaving things in twain, and it's all very terrifying.
Kind of making other people feel permanently smaller.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because they're in half.
Although usually briefly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she gave us kayaks, and we set off in some kayaks up the river.
River.
To go up some runes.
Up Malgamore, down to Zavakar. You set off down the River Malgamore on a couple of kayaks, and let's bring in the final member of the party, Sam, who plays the Changeling Ranger Askarai. I didn't even bother doing the wordplay this time. And yeah, your trip so far, relatively uneventful until the very last moments of the session.
Yeah, just a few hurtful words for Anton, and then off we went. And things were going pretty normally. We decided to make camp once it got dark, I think. Me and Ephenea. I think Astra and Ephenea.
Steo definitely wanted you on his...
No, I'm talking about who went. So two of us went to like gather wood or something like that, and then we returned to find. I think it was me and you. Yeah, I think it was me and you.
Me and you went to gather wood.
And we returned, and the camp had been kind of surrounded by strange humans who didn't seem very friendly. Not super aggressive, but not super friendly either.
Absolutely. And on that note, we can just kick on straight into the session. And you know what? Let's bring up the image of them straight away. I would also note, I don't know if it's something John can fix while we're live. I'm sure he can. That we don't have our usual lovely background image of kind of horrible, lovely forest depicted in a spooky way. There we go. There it is. Yeah. Or maybe we did and I just didn't notice because my screen's color balance is off. Either way, it's there now. So yeah, this is the situation you find yourself in. I was definitely listening through that recap, and so I don't need to be reminded who was out gathering wood, and therefore is not immediately under guard by these men with bows. But why don't you say it again, just for everyone in the audience?
I think it was Askarai and Ephenea.
Askarai and Ephenea. Okay, that's great. The others are there, though. Antom and Steo and Urfons, your goblin companion, are kind of gathered around the fire. I've remembered him this time. Gathered around the fire.
Very exciting.
Everyone just has arrows pointed directly at them. And I believe the individual who seems to be perhaps leading this little group has just asked you all to have a seat by the fire so that everyone can have a nice little talk. So the only two of you who don't have arrows pointed at their heads are Askarai and Ephenea. Are you going to play along?
Well, considering that they've got arrows pointed at all of our companions, Ephenea will begrudgingly sit down by the fire.
Yeah, agreed. How many of these people does it look like there are?
You can see 6 of them.
Okay. Yeah, let's sit down.
as you sit down, the one in the lead who spoke to you kind of makes some kind of small gesture with his hand, and all but two of the others kind of lower their bows. They're still in a ready position, but they're not pointing their arrows at you. I think it's worthwhile at this point, the people who I think would have a chance to know, Steo and Ascarai, can you both give me cunning rolls, please, at a, let's say, a -2? I think that's fine.
Not even close. Rolled a 17.
I needed an 8 and I got a 5.
Hey, there we go. Now that you're out of the immediate moment of peril, Ascarai, these men and women are dressed as Queen's Rangers, i.e., the men and women employed by the Queen of Ambria to go out in the forest of Davakar and kind of attempt to keep the edges of it safe, and make sure the people who are in there are meant to be there, and that nothing's coming out that might do horrible, horrible things. So that's how they're dressed.
Seeing that, I will slowly take from my robe the permission. I can't remember what form it's in. I think it is in a slip of paper.
It's a license. It's license. Papers, just papers. Unlike a modern license, it isn't, like a little lemon. Obviously, yeah. It's just a piece of paper, a piece of parchment.
I will just slowly take that from my robe and just hold it in there.
The leader nods and says, kind of indicates Ascarai and says, "It's not this one's first time here." He leans forward and kind of takes it off you and starts examining it. As he's doing so, he's kind of glancing at each of the other of you. Earthons is also is rummaging around inside his pack to draw out his license. The others of you doing similar?
Yeah.
Great. Yep. He walks slowly between you. He's obviously very carefully examining it. He's not kind of like holding it up to the light or anything. But he's definitely, and he's examining them together as well, comparing them to each other. And he looks between them. And finally, after he's examined the last one, who, as they go around, let's say it's Anton's, he gathers them together in a sheaf and walks back down the line the other way, and he's definitely handing your one that you had back to you, because I think they will actually have kind of your name on them. Mm-hmm. He comes to the end, gives a nod to the two of his men who still had their bows kind of drawn and aimed at you, and they lower them. And he says, "Right, well, I have to say, usually there's a little bit more resistance than that.
We're just here for the job."
Good. Do you mind if we sit? We have food we can share.
Oh, that sounds great, actually.
He points at a couple of his team who kind of dash off to the sides. You can't see them after a few seconds. They're kind of lost in the woodland, presumably keeping lookout. And the rest of them kind of sit around your fire. They visibly relaxed as he said that. And everyone sits around and they just start kind of talking to each other and passing out food. The leader, who introduces himself as Edran, kind of gathers some supplies from a pack that seems very kind of tightly packed with food and kind of supplies of various kinds, and hands out what is effectively just kind of dried meat, kind of jerky, and starts kind of passing it to each of you, and says, co-signed by the Ordo Magica.
Yes, that's the contractor or boss for this situation.
He nods. Anything to do with that outpost further down the river?
Not the towers, but we're heading in that direction.
No, yeah, past that. They came through a few weeks ago.
Yeah. No, you haven't. I assume you've not heard word of them since.
No.
Yeah.
Not that we were expecting it particularly.
Yeah, we're expecting to take them back in bags.
He kind of nods in a manner where he evidently is not surprised by this notion.
We heard they seemed pretty well laid out, though. They took a whole boat up the river, didn't they?
Aye, there were 15, 20 of them, including their guards.
And there should have been enough guards, yeah? I mean,
so.
I'm not well versed in the forest affairs, but
They said there were more coming overland as well.
I hope
But-
they didn't mean us.
Sometimes being equipped enough isn't being equipped enough here.
Do you know the ruins where they visited? Do you know that area at all?
Vaguely. I don't think it's been plundered enough to have a name. But familiar enough with it. There's various scattered ruins around there. A big old palace. That's been the main focus of attention for people over the years. I imagine it's dry by now. Don't know why they were there specifically.
Have you found much activity in this area besides them recently?
There's all sorts coming through here all the time. Mostly going to the more familiar sites. The Earth Towers are not so far from the ruin you're going for. They're a common target for people who want to find their fortune without necessarily risking their lives.
Well, it sounds like we're not dealing with the worst case scenario. It's not like anyone's raised an army out there.
There are... it's funny you say that. One of the reasons we're scouring these parts of the forest, maybe a little closer to the land of the Odavs than we normally do, is we're looking for, well, he kind of takes a chew on a piece of jerky. We're looking for rebels, you might say.
From the forest or the towns?
From the Odavs. Some young witch raised her banner against the chieftain.
What mystery.
Wants all Ambrians out from the forest.
Same as always.
If you come across a large group of Odavs moving around these parts, I'd steer clear. I'm not sure your friend here would be able to talk your way past them.
So... Oh, okay. Not as bad as I thought it could have been, but worse than I was hoping it was going to be.
How about the river? Do you fancy our chances of avoiding trouble if we stick to the river?
As good chances as you have in Davakar. You're not going that deep, but you're not on the fringes either. But your best bet is to stick as close to the river as possible.
Do you have a name for this rebel queen, whatever she's calling herself?
None. They don't tell me that kind of thing. They just tell me to watch out for troublesome Odavs roaming the forest and killing every Ambrian they find.
Well, at least they're normal sized.
Yeah.
I suppose so, yes.
Hopefully we can just steer clear, get in and out without anybody besides yourselves taking any notice.
You can try.
No interactions with the Northerners, the elves themselves, no?
They've been quiet.
It's just, I don't know if I like them less when they're quiet or when they're loud.
There's less activity from them in winter, usually. You don't get as many of the smaller ones, the sprites. He looks round at the rest of the rangers and nods and says, "All right, well, we have to move on. Thank you for the talk and the warmth. Make sure you keep those licenses safe."
Yeah, thanks for not shooting us.
He stands up and gives some hand signals to the rest of the rangers, and they kind of gather in. The two that ran out to the side kind of come into the group as well. He gives probably Steo a nod, and they walk off kind of directly along the riverbanks, and they're out of sight within 10, 20 seconds. And slowly you realize that the hubbub of the noise kind of in the forest of various animals and birds kind of was slightly dimmed and now comes up again around you.
That was a lesson for us.
Yeah.
They snuck up on us. We need to keep better watch.
Yeah, if they weren't even elves. I thought they were elves.
I think that is the friendliest lesson we're likely to receive in Davaka.
I'll take first watch tonight.
I don't think I'll sleep at all. I'll take second.
All right. So it's safe to say I think that the group is going to take a little bit more care in their, in their watching and stuff like that from now on. But regardless, I think it's fine to actually skip forward a few days. You have a few days of travel along the river that's relatively uneventful. And the first sign you see of kind of any of the even life in the forest, none of you have so much have seen as like an animal moving around, which is probably a reassurance given what kind of animals might move around in Davakar. When towards the end of one day of traveling, you've kind of moved round. The river is kind of almost turning. It's starting to turn in a more northerly direction now as you travel along. And ahead of you, late one afternoon, you see, as the sky is kind of darkening because we're moving into winter now, you see a short kind of jetty coming out from the side, like a small pier that has a couple of relatively small kind of kayaks like yours tied up to it. And there's a couple of individuals there in kind of Odav barbarian garb, and they're kind of sat there almost in a board fashion with like a small hut behind them, and they're kind of dangling their legs off the side of the jetty. And as you as your boats come up alongside the pier, they kind of at first look a little wary of you and then sort of just give kind of little waves.
Return the wave and maybe give a nervous glance to Ethanea.
There is like one of them kind of like stands up and in quite heavily accented, kind of a very heavy Odav accent in Ambrian says, "You going to Blackleach Rift?"
I will respond in Odav and confirm that we are in fact going to Blackleach Rift, and if they are.
Are you aware you're not going to Blackleach Rift?
No, we're not going to Blackleach Rift.
No,
I thought we were.
No.
Okay.
Blackleach Rift is like when I mentioned the Earth Towers, the Earth Towers and Blackleach Rift are the same place. So like they are the big complex of ruins that is on the way to where you're going, but not where you're going. It's like a very popular place to go ransack because it's mostly safe.
Yes, I remember now. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, I will. In that case, tell them that no, we will be, passing through, but we do not intend to stop there.
He kind of nods and looks a little bit surprised and says, "We have goods and food to trade if you want them." This is like you're almost flush with them now and kind of going past.
Do I recognize them at all?
The individuals, no. I mean, there's a lot. The Odav tribe is quite widespread. There's, but they're definitely dressed, in that way. And kind of the guy talking is also kind of holding his hands out, not kind of up in surrender, but like out in a kind of like he has no.
Yeah.
No. He's got a knife at his belt, but he's got no he's basically indicating I am not girded for war,
Yeah, I will in that case take them up on it. And just say, where we welcome any aid that can be provided. What wares? Have you got trinkets?
He sort of turns to his friend and kind of indicates, and he comes in and he's got like a large crate that he kind of opens the front of, and there's little kind of shelves in it almost, and they have like quite adventuring supplies, exploring supplies essentially, like a few kind of large sort of machete-like knives, ropes and grappling hooks, shovels, some packs of like quite well packed sort of they look like maybe little packs of fruits and nuts and kind of root vegetables, like that have been almost like packaged into a tight bundle wrapped in light skins, and basically kind of gestures at them and says, "Basic supplies we sell to people going to Blackley Drift, but you're welcome too."
I'll gaze over them and do we think there's going to be much kind of having to cut through undergrowth, etc., on the way to?
You're not. You're not entirely sure, but I mean, most of Davokar, from your experience and from everyone else's experience in the group, there does tend to be a lot of underbrush, and I don't think they're like specifically things that you said you. I think we've said that you've got kind of general exploring gear, because I think you guys said you bought that from Thistlehold before you left. But I don't think let's say you don't specifically have stuff like this. No.
Yeah. Well, Efnair will indicate towards the machete, and so I'd be glad to have some Odav steel to cut my way through the forest.
He nods, kind of quite delighted in this, and says, "Obviously, we're the only traders out here. 50 thaler."
Efnair just throws herself off. Indebted to capitalism, even in Davokar.
Yeah. This weapon in Thistlehold would cost 25 thaler at most. But
does she know this?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's massively overpriced. But as the man says, if you need to buy this stuff at this point, he's kind of got you over a barrel.
Well, he may have me over a barrel, but I don't have 50 thaler. So,
do we even have 50 thaler between us?
Probably not.
No.
Probably quite a long way from that.
Do you take all the magic checks by any chance?
Just an IOU.
He kind of wrinkles up his brow and then says again, now he's speaking to you, he'll be speaking in that thickly accented Ambrian again, and says, a note, a promise note.
We do have them, although
he's trying to say a promissory note, but he doesn't really know the words.
We do have them, although I do not think we will need that machete as much as you're selling it for.
It's a long way to come back, though, if we get somewhere and decide that we need it.
We have enough knives, but I've no shovel.
I mean, I can't see why we would need a shovel unless we had to bury graves for the people that we may find possibly not alive.
Yeah, but
how much is the shovel?
That's a good question, and I'm just looking up how much a shovel would be in Thistlehold. So
flying it.
Yeah. You know what? I don't think it lists a shovel here, which is kind of surprising to me, but there we go. But you know what? I'd say a shovel is probably going to cost around the same as like a grappling hook, right? Like they're both, just kind of tools. So it is 2 thaler.
So, okay, so I'm then kind of addressing this to the rest of the team, kind of side talking. Right, so maybe this is just a whim, maybe it's been a long day, but if we hand over a promissory note for a couple of extra days' rations and a shovel, which we don't have, like the Ordo Magico's cashing the check. We're putting a bit of money back into the ODAV territories. You shop local.
Stop the
Helps with coronavirus, means that the economy doesn't collapse over Christmas. It's great.
Look, I'm just saying we're not going to get another opportunity to use these promissory notes in a way that the Auto Magica aren't going to come on top of us for. And you said you don't know why you'd need a shovel. Look, I'm no woodsman, but I don't know why I need a shovel is said by a lot of people who died for want of a shovel.
Just for context, by the way, so I will adjust the cost. John has found the cost of a shovel in Symbaroum, and it's 3 shillings. So I'm actually going to say 6 shillings for a shovel. So that's a lot less than $2. So that is better. You think this is absolutely exactly the kind of thing that the promissory notes are for. Yeah, and obviously, as Steo says, you'll be contributing towards a reduction of gentrification in Davakar, which is obviously very important.
It is very, very important.
Matt, what's the sort of the weather like? Is there any snowfall or anything like that on the ground?
Not yet, but you're still fairly early in winter. You're probably, in our terms, you're around November time.
Okay.
So I suppose you could still say kind of late autumn. So yeah, there's been no snowfall yet, but there absolutely could be.
Okay. Well, I definitely think that the shovel is a valuable purchase for us.
Well,
I say we write up a note. Yeah, we write up a note and just grab whatever we can get off these lads.
Sure.
Definitely, that shovel caught my eye. That's something I probably should have packed. But I'm no woodsman.
So you know what? I feel it's about time when we get some of this stuff noted down. Does someone want to be the group's kind of quartermaster or inventory person? I feel like that's a job that, and feel free to say no, but that's a job maybe Anton would be interested in performing.
Sure.
Tries, breaks his pen, writing it down.
So your quartermaster skill, Anton, is going to be obviously it's going to be related to your strength. So roll that. Let's say I think I'm fine with saying that you can replace basically all the rations that you've consumed so far on your river journey. So that's nice. And yeah, you can take a shovel. I mean, do you want to? You can take the machete if you want. As far as this guy's concerned, the Ordo Magica seems good for it. So it's just up to you whether they might be this much for it. But you don't know. It's
We'll just bluff it. I think that we could easily say that there was a miscommunication and we thought it was $5 and it was just a thick heavy accent and I don't speak any Odav at all.
Or you could just say, look, we needed one and there weren't any machete boutiques along the river. I
prefer my way.
Yeah, either way. You know what? I want to just have a quick note. I don't want to go into exhaustive detail about exactly what you guys have with you. But just so you know, I'd say that you each have some field equipment. And for the purposes of interest, stuff that's in that is a bedroll, a cooking pan, firewood, flint and steel, a rope, and a water skin. So that's kind of what you've all got. So anything you're buying now is kind of in addition to that. So shovel, some rations. Are we going for the machete?
I'm gonna go for the machete. I don't like the Ordo Magica. Well, I mean I don't like many people, but I don't particularly like Euphrinda. So if I can shaft her out of $50, I'm doing it. I don't even need the machete. I just realized I could screw over the Ordo Magica.
I mean, ultimately, while $50 is a huge amount of money for you,
it's not for them.
Not overly so. I mean,
they're like the Jeff Bezos of the Symbaroum world.
Sure.
I'm just doing my bit.
Yeah. So, okay, that's absolutely fine. So if you guys take those, maybe if Mike notes down that you got them, and then we know for when I'm you desperately need to dig a hole.
Nice.
Okay. Unless there's any kind of other business, there's nothing you want to sell these guys, I'm assuming.
Can we
As
sell a
we're,
man, Tom? How much is he worth?
Not very
Nothing.
much.
as we're kind of leaving, I'll give the guy the chewing resin I got off the lad last time, just kind of as a gift.
Sure. The man kind of takes it off you and kind of salutes you with it and pops it in straight away and is happily chewing away on it as you leave. And there you go. Kayaking further down the river. That night, you make up your camp as normal, and you set up, set up your watch and so on and so forth. Who is likely to be on watch first?
I'd say I'd put myself on watch because I think Steele and Tom have been like on watch for the past few nights, haven't they? So I will be happy to relieve them.
To be on watch first. Okay. Yeah. So the part of the river shore where you've kind of set up your camp, it's a kind of slightly bare area of kind of scrubby soil leading down to the river, kind of covered in stones. It's probably not going to be a very good night's sleep. And you set up your campfire, and the trees are set, at least kind of 10 feet back away from it, so it's not as cluttered as it normally would be of the evenings that you've been spending here. And Effenair kind of goes to the edge of the clear space and just kind of, walks back and forth, walks by the river. The other three of you are, either dozing or still eating or just kind of thinking to yourself, maybe talking. Effenair, can I have a vigilant roll, please, at -2?
Oh, heck. I believe that's an 8 I've got to hit. And an 8 I hit.
Nice.
Exactly.
A small group of individuals are coming towards your camp from the north. They seem to be moving a bit erratically, and you could hear muttered words that you can't 100% guarantee it because you can't really hear what they're saying, but you think they're speaking Ambrian.
So can they how kind of hidden is our sort of
because Davokar is a very thick forest, from a distance away, very hidden, but from up close, people could smell the campfire, see the light of the campfire, and obviously a whole side of it is just a river, right? So it depends kind of where they come out. They seem to be moving fairly firmly in this direction. Yeah.
All right, so I will just kind of think, sod it, and kind of step out to greet them, basically, and just say, "Ho there, not looking for any trouble, just wanting to see if you're also not looking for said trouble."
Cool. I assume you're saying this loud enough so that your companions have heard you. You step out, kind of. It's not exactly a path, but it's like a trail, a rough, maybe animal trail through Davokar. There are 3 individuals who've come to a halt in front of you. 2 of them are supporting the third between them, who seems kind of like he's got a sort of a dripping wound on one shoulder. They're dressed in quite rough armor. You'd put money that they're fortune hunters because they just have that scrappy, not terribly uniform look about them. They've all got kind of backpacks on, sort of wild, slightly haunted expression on their face, and but they don't look terribly surprised that you've stepped out in front of them. And one of them supporting the other says, "Please, have you got a campfire we could sit by?"
We haven't had much luck with fortune hunters recently. let me call my colleagues over and we can speak about it. I'll bring our healer and he can look at your wounded man. And I'll just call over Anton and
Thank you.
the rest. Well, look, if we could maybe leave, one person at the campfire, like if you guys want to discuss, like, just so it's not our goods aren't completely unattended.
Sure.
So I'm going to stand up and make a really big kind of silhouette on the campfire, kind of making sure that I'm visible. But I'm going to kind of give Askrai a little pat and kind of point off towards the underbrush and kind of flank them, kind of gesture.
Okay. I will head around, see if there's any. I would like to move around them and see if there's any more people behind them. I'm not going to go and talk to them. I just want to move around.
And Anton, are you going to go over and...
I'm going to go and approach them, but I'm going to sort of not just pay attention to the wounded guy, but the other people as well, and just sort of watch what their hands are doing, if they're putting their hands on their weapons or anything like that. Just be quite vigilant about them, a bit wary and standoffish as I sort of introduce myself to them.
Sure. Tell you what, can you give me just a cunning roll to kind of evaluate them?
I roll a 1.
Okay. Well, in that case, all 3 of them are definitely wounded.
Okay.
You also think they potentially haven't eaten properly in a couple of days. They are overall in a fairly bad way.
Okay.
And also their wounds look odd.
Ooh, odd how?
Wrong kind
color?
of. Yeah, they're kind of sort of blackened and odd, and kind of the veins and arteries around where the wounds were are kind of darkened. It doesn't look like the sort of the copper crown that effect it has on people. It doesn't look like that at all. But it's possible it's an infection, but it's also possible that something unusual, or maybe poisoned, or something that's not a regular knife or whatever, may have caused these wounds. Or they could just look odd because you're in the middle of Davakar and there's infections everywhere. Who knows?
Okay. I'm going to turn to Effie. Effie, these men are in a terrible state. And under my breath, I don't believe that they pose much of a threat to us. I think that we can safely invite them around our fire to sit and rest, and we can tend to their wounds.
Okay. I'll nod and turn back to the men and say, yes, you may rest and recover by our campfire. I hope you are not too offended that I ask you to remove your weapons. We've had a run-in with some people recently that makes me wary of fortune hunters and the like. Sorry, Askrai. But we're happy to provide you with shelter and warmth, and you may have some of our food.
The one kind of looks at the others and says, though we desperately need it, I hope you'll understand that perhaps if we could at least keep our knives on us. I realize you have no reason to trust us, but we do not wish to be preyed upon either. Our swords, our axes, though, we could put them to one side?
Fine. I mean, worst comes to worst. I hope you don't mind me saying that you don't look as if you're in a fit state to hurt us, even if you do mean us ill. So that's fine.
They nod and kind of take off. They have kind of like main weapons, a couple of axes and a sword that they kind of unbelt them and place them down on the ground, and then sort of painfully make their way over to your fire and put the more wounded one of them down, and then the other two kind of sit there kind of like it's generally looking exhausted, taking any food that's offered to them, and presumably having Anton see to them.
Yeah, I'll go up to the most
the
wounded one.
Absolutely.
Kick him. No, wait, that's an F&A move.
Well, we'll see how the roll goes for Medicus, and if it fails, then that's what I'll do.
Yeah, that'll be the excuse. Cool. Well, let's have Medicus rolls from Anton and Steo, if Steo is also attending them. But while we do that, let's cut to Askarai, who's doubling around behind them and kind of having a general look around the area, right? Askarai, why don't you give me a vigilant roll at -4, please?
Okay. I'll need 11. I got a 3.
Okay. You don't find kind of evidence of kind of anyone, anyone lurking or anyone following, kind of anyone in the immediate vicinity. They don't have a few companions stealthily creeping up or whatever. You just don't find anything.
Okay. If when I'm satisfied that there's nobody or nothing for them, I'll just head back to camp. Straight away.
As you kind of walk out, obviously you cut quite a striking figure walking out of the forest with like your long dark cloak, and because presumably the wood of your mask is quite pale. I like in my head it's like like a pale wood. That the more wounded one of them kind of like jerks up a little bit. Who hasn't spoken so far, seems quite feverish, and as you come in, he jerks up a bit and mutters something before his eyes kind of widen, and he slowly takes in that you just a changeling, wandering through the forest, and he kind of sinks back down and kind of settles himself. Let's see who. You know what? I think it's fine for both of you to roll because you're kind of attending to them. We'll get to your Medicus rolls in a second, but can you both, Anton and Steo, give me vigilant rolls at -3, let's say.
Oh. Yeah, I did it.
Yeah.
I did it.
I want to acknowledge that the dice are on our side this week, but also
worrying.
Aware that by acknowledging that, I've fucked it.
Well, if anyone fails any one roll from now on through the rest of the stream, it's Elle's fault.
It's entirely my fault.
So, Mike, don't roll anything.
Ever.
Both of you heard basically what this man muttered under his breath. Neither of you recognize the word, but he sounded as though he was saying Omalkun. It is not a word in Ambrian, and the three of them are Ambrian.
And it's not a word in Odav, is it?
It is not a word in Odav either.
Which man was saying that again, sorry?
The more wounded one. The one who's a little bit more out of it.
I'm assuming...
Sorry, before you say that, how did those healing rolls go, chaps?
I made it.
Cool. You managed to kind of patch... I'm not going to apply it to individual people. The two of you between you managed to patch up their wounds a bit more than they've already managed to do. But as you do so, you do both note that, they're odd wounds. They don't seem to be the kind of weapon wounds. You guess if you had to say anything, they'd be like claws, like beast wounds, but they're definitely odd.
I want to raise this with them, just kind of making conversation. It's like, did you catch an elf arrow or something? These wounds look poisoned.
They kind of glance at each other, and the one who's spoken so far says, no poison, no elves.
I suppose that's thankful. That's one thing to be thankful of. And
what is the Omalkun that you mentioned?
The one who wasn't talking, but also the one who didn't. The third one, who I haven't really talked about yet, kind of, you do notice him, like, kind of slamming his fist into the leg of the one who said it.
The wounded man?
Yeah. His leg isn't what's wounded, luckily. And the one who's been talking kind of just shakes his head slowly and says, There are still horrors to be faced in the depths of Blackleach Rift. That's all you should know.
Good job we're not going there then.
Ephania, were you going to say something to them, or has it kind of been covered? Or
I think it's been covered.
cool.
So
we have some business a little beyond Blackleach Rift. So I consider it good manners in terms of payment. If you could be a little more forthcoming about what you faced out there. We're not out here for booty. We're out here for a mark.
We dug into a tomb that had not yet been opened. Its occupant was still there.
And this was in the complex itself, not beyond it.
We considered the place to be within the bounds of Blackleach Rift. Hence, we were somewhat taken aback by the danger it posed.
Yeah, this forest does that to people.
We
Money and problems.
We fought, 2 of our companions died, and we fled. Here we are.
Well, you've done well to get this far.
The third one, who seems a bit more maybe spiky than the others, maybe why he's not the one doing the talking, kind of glances up and says, "We won't give you the location."
We don't want it. We don't want to go anywhere near that place. We're here for one job, lads.
He nods, kind of satisfied, and the one who's spoken says, We'll be out of your way in the morning. If we could sleep by your fire, just for a night."
I'm sure we're fine with that, but we're keeping the weapons.
We're trying to make our way to those barbarians selling goods. You must have come past them.
Yep. Nice lads.
Then we can find our way south and never come back here again.
That's the spirit. See, if there were more people like this, Thistlehold would be a much nicer place to live.
Aye. We only go into Davokar when we're sent, and we hate it when we do. Never see the point of fortune hunters such as yourselves. You've got a death wish. And evidently.
I told you, lads, money and problems. There's only 2 things come out of this forest, and you look like you've got at least one of those.
Only one of those.
Okay. They kind of bed down quite quickly. They seem, fairly exhausted. With that in mind, who is probably going to replace Ephania on watch? Steve.
Oh, okay.
Do we want? I might kind of raise the chance of us maybe doing a double watch because I am not 100% happy. As much as this is a tactically secure position, I am well out of my element and much more nervous than this scenario in Thistlehold.
I would be very happy to be on watch, partly watching them sleep as much as watching.
You fucking creep.
Fair enough. Okay. Well then, let's have you guys on watch. So is it fair to say that Askarai is sticking kind of closely to the fire and just kind of watching everyone at the camp, and Steo is more kind of like pacing the around the edges of the campfire light and that kind of stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. That is fair. In that case, can I have vigilant rolls, please?
No, you may not.
Steo, I would like a vigilant roll at, let's say, -3.
Not even a hope. Unless this monstrosity is wearing high-vis, there's no chance of me getting it.
Well, you're in luck. It's high-vis day in Davokar.
It's high-vis Blightborn. And Askarai, can I have a vigilant roll at +1?
Ooh. Slightly
Which
worried.
you're almost certainly going to make. So
I need a 16. I got a 9, so I made it.
Nice.
And it looks like Chris made it too. Right. These are actually for different things. So let's describe them in a fun order, shall we? Steo, you're out on the kind of edges of the firelight, and for a few minutes now, you couldn't put your finger on it, but you feel maybe an odd chill, and just kind of you just like someone's walking over your grave. Something like you feel just on edge, and you keep kind of catching just little noises, creaks from the boughs of the forest, and kind of whipping your head around to look, but nothing's there. And then just as you kind of resolve that you're just nervous, you're just on edge. You've had these moods before. You've taken many guards, and not always have your intuitions resulted in awfulness. But just as you kind of resolve to yourself that you're just imagining it and you're spooked, you hear a very odd noise coming from an anonymous distance away in the forest. You couldn't put your finger on it. It's like someone like letting go of a breath, a final breath, a kind of that just drifts through the trees towards you. And that feeling you have, that kind of like tingling, cold tingling up your spine, just, your back goes rigid, and there is something out there, and it's coming.
I'll make my way back to the fire.
But before you can do that, Askarai, you made your vigilant check, so I'm going to give you a big boost on your defense when one of the fortune hunters spins round from his faked sleep and throws a knife at you. So let's see what it would normally be. It would normally be a -1 to your defense, but I'm going to give you a +2 to that. So make a defense roll at +1, please.
People have just started throwing things at me recently. I do not appreciate it. I need a 14, I think. I got a 15.
There we go. Give me an armor roll, please.
Okay, that's only a D4. I got a 2.
Okay, well, then just take 1 toughness. So the throwing knife, it doesn't stick in you or anything, but it kind of, you didn't really register it fast enough to move out of the way, and it just carves a cut along your upper arm as you're sat there, and you become aware that like the other 2 treasure hunters are kind of rolling, getting to their feet, drawing hidden blades, and one of them is definitely scrambling in the direction of their piled weapons. The other one of them has rolled on top of Anton and is kind of driving his forearm down into Anton's throat to try and choke him in his sleep. Can we go into initiative, please?
Absolutely, we can. I'm really sorry. My brain just hecked up a little bit. Do they just to quickly ask before combat?
Mm-hmm.
Did they look any different, or do they just straight up? They look like they looked.
No, yeah, there's no difference to them. They don't look like
they're just dickheads,
or they've been taken over by. No. They look exactly as they were before.
All right.
A bunch of bastards.
Just a bunch of bastards.
The last time I ever trust anyone. Ever.
A good life lesson. So, Askarai, you're with us first. I see no reason why you wouldn't be armed. You're on watch. I think you have your bow on you and you have your knife at your side. The one who threw the blade at you was the one who done all the talking. And he is currently kind of scrabbling to his feet with another knife in his hand. And they had shields as well, and they didn't offer to take those off, so I'm going to say that they didn't. And he's kind of got a shield and a knife, and he's getting himself to his feet, obviously intent on you. One of them is scrabbling towards their weapons, and the other one is kind of choking, a now hot, kind of waking up, but indisposed Anton on the ground. Yeah, and John makes a very good point. Remember, your mute icons don't appear when the initiative order is up, so just so you're aware whether you might be muted or not. But Ascarai, I imagine someone's getting an arrow.
Yeah, I think I'd be most. I kind of want to shoot all of them.
Sure.
I think I'd be most concerned. I know the one on Anton has a knife, so I would probably shoot him in case he just like stabs Anton and try and prevent that from happening.
Don't miss.
I think that's fair. In that case, their defense is at a +1, so make your attack at a +1, please.
Okay, I need a 16 again. I got 10, so I make it.
Okay, and give me that damage roll.
Which is a D. Do I get a bonus because he's lying down?
He's kind of hunched over. I don't think he can be classed as lying down at the moment.
Okay.
Or if he is, because he's bundled up with Anton, it's probably not as clear a shot.
I got a 5 on my damage.
Got a 5 on your damage. Okay. Your arrow kind of pierces the back of his shoulder, but he doesn't seem too overly concerned with it. He's kind of sort of cursing and almost yelling in kind of a thick kind of southern Ambrian accent, and just really focusing on trying to choke Anton out. And not really paying much attention to the arrow that's just appeared in his shoulder. So while they do seem kind of, they're not taken over by something, they seem exceedingly desperate.
Mm-hmm. I will also yell to Fria just on the off chance, because she's the only one not like
that
awake.
Was a very good thing to do. So, Fria, can you give me a vigilant roll, please? And it was going to have, I'd say, a +2, but because of Ascarai's yelling, can you make it a +4?
I absolutely can. Please be good to me. Nope, fucked it.
Okay. You're kind of, I'm not going to say you haven't woken up at all. What I'm going to say is...
It's going to take me a turn to...
Yeah, sure. So, basically, at the beginning of your next turn, you will be awake, but you'll still be lying down. So you still have to, do the getting up thing and stuff like that. So this turn, you're just kind of... sort of still coming out of your doze. And now we have the Fortune Hunters. So... the first one is the one who flung the knife at Ascarai, and he is going to fling another knife at Ascarai. This guy got knives for days. So give me a defense roll at -1, please.
Okay, I need a 12. I got 17.
There we go. Another armor roll, please.
I got a 4. Hooray.
Okay. The knife kind of just, it hits your armor hilt first and just spins off into the ground. He kind of curses and draws a kind of longer knife, more of a fighting knife, and just kind of holds it thrust first against the shield and kind of hunches over to approach you to fight.
Can someone please pull out the machete and make you call that a knife? This is a knife. Can we do that? No, let's not do that. But still, I had to get that in there. Sorry.
They're just right. That's a machete. What are you talking about?
What's wrong with you? Good ass scum.
That's a spoon.
From now on, the Odabs have an Australian accent in my head.
Yeah, and yeah. You played knife and spoon before. So yeah, I couldn't leave a Simpsons reference hanging. The one who was wounded is the one trying to choke out Anton. Anton, can you make, let's say, a defensive roll? Does anyone off the top of the head know what just fist damage is?
I think it's D4.
Is it a D4? That sounds about right. So 2 for these guys because it's automatically done. So yeah, that sounds about right to me. So Anton, can you make a defense roll? And I'm going to say it's a -5 because you were asleep and this guy's trying to batter you.
My defense is 5, so
Still roll. You might get a 1.
I did not get a 1.
You did not get a 1. That's fine. You know what? I'll also say that he's not. He's trying to choke you out. I don't think your armor helps with that. So I don't think you get an armor roll against it. I think that's fair. So if you just take 2 toughness damage from having him just kind of trying to choke, he's not using his hands like that, but trying to kind of choke you out with his forearm, I think that's fine. But you are now awake.
Okay.
So yeah. Steo, you are aware. You like the distance between you and the campfire is only like about 12 feet. So you are well aware. You are well aware, basically, of at least the noise that's happening. You probably haven't turned to look yet, but you can hear. You heard like the throwing knife being thrown, the arrow going. You can hear a kind of as fighting noises are happening behind you.
Well, that was completely not unexpected for me. So Steo is going to barrel and close as much of the distance as possible. Can I engage and get an action on the one who's trying to choke out our priest?
I'd say you absolutely can, because remember you've got your long weapon free attack. So if you want to engage him, I believe you can get a free attack on him first as well.
I don't know if that counts if they're engaging me, but either way, there's going to be an attack here, so I'll let them figure that one out. I'm
not sure. Well, yeah, run the attack, and we'll see if I can go look at.
That's
nice.
That's a 4. That is more than enough to.
That is a hit. That is definitely a hit. Yeah, the defense is a +1, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. Okay, so let's give them a damage roll.
Oh, 4. Okay, less than average, but fair.
Yeah, I think you definitely get a free attack as you engage them, I think.
Okay, sweet. Well, that was the first attack. So
sorry, how much damage was that in total?
I did a total of 4.
Total of 4. That's great.
I mean, let's say a total. There was no addition involved. I got 4 on my dice.
Yeah.
I will now roll my second attack. Oh wow! It's 4 night, everybody.
4. I was going to say it's 4 o'clock. That doesn't work.
No,
it's an actual 4 o'clock, and it's not now.
Yeah, no,
it doesn't work.
Unfortunately, this damage is only a 3, but in total, that's 4, 5, 6, 7.
Sure. Yeah, you kind of close the distance, and honestly, you don't get a good swinging because you're kind of desperately just trying to reach to batter the guy off Anton more than you are trying to get a clean hit in. But you definitely kind of jab him, and the tip of your halberd slides between his ribs a bit. You don't think it was a horrible kind of mortal wound, but you've definitely hurt the guy. He doesn't seem to care. You've seen men like this at this level of desperation. He is literally resolved to either kill you all or die trying. There are conclusions to be made from this that may be uncomfortable to contemplate about the noise you heard approaching the camp. But we don't have time for those right now. So, Anton, are you going to try to wrestle this guy off the top of you?
Yeah, or could I reach for my dagger? Like, would I have that about my person?
I think that's fine. I think sleeping with your dagger strapped to you is more than sensible.
I think that this night of all nights, I would have done that. So yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, if I can reach for my dagger, I'll.
Yeah, absolutely. Normally, a strike on them would be a defense +1, but I'm going to say it's more difficult for you in the position you're in. So let's say it's they're at +3. So give me an attack roll at hang on. No, it shouldn't. No, +1's good. Yeah. So give me an attack roll at -1. There we go.
This is going to be a tough ask. No, I don't do it.
Okay. That's fine. Let's say that you have kind of you've got your dagger now and you've drawn it out and you're kind of like flailing, trying to kind of batter at him to get him off. I would say though, that trying to heave him off you, I'd say that that's a movement action, or could be a movement action.
Okay.
So I'd say that as well as the kind of strike with the dagger you've made on him, that just trying to heave your body to wrestle him off you, which
So
will
is
be an
that strong?
opposed. Yeah, it'll be an opposed strong. So you're rolling strong at -5.
I ain't gonna do this, lads. No, I'm
No.
not gonna.
Yeah, he's a big guy and he does not want to get off you. And there's the weight of an arrow on you now as well. So that made the difference. Yeah, he's still on top of you, still strangling you. Yeah, fun times. So we go back to Askarai.
Okay. I think I'm gonna. He's now in Gits. The thing is, Steer is now there, so I'm gonna try to shoot the guy again, the one on top of Anton.
Sure. The Fortune Hunter. See, he had a movement action. I think he's now engaged with you.
Okay.
The
In
one
that
with
case,
the knife and the shield. So
I'll fight him with my dagger instead.
Dagger him instead. Okay. Well, that's an attack roll at +1 then, please.
Okay, cool. I need a 16 then. And I get an 11. Hooray.
Hooray.
I'm using feint. And so the damage is a D6 and a D4.
Not too bad.
5.
Okay, so that's mitigated by that. Yeah, you basically he comes at you, like I say, with the kind of like backhanded knife and shield. You've seen this kind of fighting before. You're well used to dueling against it. You step to the side and just slash behind his guard and leave a kind of deep cut along one of his upper arms, which he kind of hisses between his teeth and turns to try and kind of strike you. Ephenea, so you're awake.
I'm awake.
Now, getting up, I believe, standing up costs 2 actions unless a quick test is passed. So do you want...
I'm going to
try and pass it. Make yourself a quick test. And you know what? I'm going to be a bit cruel.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a -1 because not only are you getting up just from being prone, you're getting up from being asleep as well. And I know from personal experience that that's more difficult.
That is difficult.
So a quick test at a -1. You can still get up if you don't make it, but you won't get an action as well.
Yeah. Yes, I make it. Needed 12, rolled 8.
There we go. I would also say, well, if you sleep with Black Gift drawn and armed, then that's very silly. But I would say, as you're getting up, you could maybe draw your knife. I'm assuming you also have a knife, or you can take your extra action that you've just gained to grab Black Gift, unsheath it, and ready yourself.
Yeah, I'll do that one.
I think that's sensible.
I like that we're basically just nerfing me now
by being like.
I think literally it's like the last 3 combats in a row. It's been like, well, Ephenea can't move for the first 2 turns.
But let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Did it work in the long run?
Absolutely. Not.
Absolutely not. So there you go. So Ephenea is now ready to fight. Let's go with the Fortune Hunters again. But before we do that, can everyone make a vigilant roll, please? And I'd say that Anton will make it at -3 because he's not entirely in a great position to be paying attention to anything. But the guy on top of him. The third Fortune Hunter last turn, by the way, reached the pile of swords, like the 3 weapons, and picked up his axe and made ready to kind of like, he stood by the little pile of weapons and kind of readied his axe.
Are these just flat vigilant?
Apart from Anton, yeah.
Apart from Anton, yeah. I got a 1.
Ooh.
If I could have gotten a 1 on like the standing up, that would have been.
It would have been good. Askarai?
Yeah, I passed.
Anton?
No.
No. Yeah, Antom's preoccupied with being strangled. But the other three of you, and we'll do an extra special thing for FNA at the end for that one. But Ascarine, Steo, and FNA are all three of you. It's essentially a very similar thing to what Steo heard at the edge of the clearing. An odd, whistling, breathing sound, now very close through the trees. That, and as it happens, an odd, you don't feel it like a wind, but you feel a chill rush through you. And kind of the air in your mouth almost feels cold. You know, when you go outside for the first time in winter and you breathe in, and the cold air kind of, you instantly, it's almost like an ice cream headache, right? It makes your head cold, your chest cold. It's like you just took a breath of that air in.
Does this provoke any reaction from the people we're fighting?
That's a very good question. I don't think Antom's in any place to no, he is. We'll go on, and we'll go back to Elle's roll of 1 in a second as well. The man fighting you, his eyes widen, and his as he steps forward to strike you, he was desperate before. Now he's frenzied. There's a real need to kind of just kill you. You're in his way. You need to die. He needs to get away. On top of you, Antom, the man strangling you is now going, "Omalkun, Omalkun, Omalkun," under his breath. And then we have the Fortune Hunter's actions. So
then we have a 14-year-old. And
then we have a wave of 14-year-olds breaks over the trees. They've all
doing TikTok dances.
Yeah, they've all got opinions about Fortnite. So that's probably horribly out of date now. So let's deal with the one fighting Ascarai first, the one kind of frenziedly stabbing at you. And you know what? I'm going to give him a bit of a penalty because he's so horribly desperate. So make a defense roll at just a flat defense roll, please.
Okay, I need a 13. I got a 1. Nice.
So that's a perfect defense, right? So you can, in that case, you can get a free attack on him as kind of a retribution, like an immediate feint, which is your thing. That's your thing.
Yeah, dirty knife thrower.
So yeah, give us an attack roll on him, please.
Okay.
At the usual +1.
I got a 10 out of 16.
Okay, and give me a damage roll.
Okay. A 6. Slightly better than my 5s.
Slightly better indeed. So he's kind of coming at you, just furiously thrusting his knife at you all round the edge of his wooden shield. And he's lost it. All you need to do is just back away, and then at the last moment, you thrust under his shield with your blade. You feel it strike home, and you feel a sudden burst of liquid warmth over your hand and down your forearm as you draw it back. He's kind of sagging now on one leg desperately, and his kind of like frenzied cries have become hoarse. He's still alive and he's still fighting, but you think you just may have done something awful to him.
Okay.
The next one is, how about the one on top of Antom? So Antom, let's say you can have another defense roll, and I'm going to give you, now that you're fully awake, I can't remember what I gave you last time. Did I give you a -3 last time?
I think it was -5 last time, wasn't it? Because I had to roll a perfect 1.
Yeah, that's it.
Right.
Now you're kind of like awake and heaving around. I think it's a little bit easier. So let's put a -3 on it, shall we? Hey, it's still,
Yeah, don't make it.
No, that's fine. Lose another 2 toughness. You're starting to kind of see stars now as he's choking you out. And the final one, the one with the axe, He's going to dash rather desperately at Steo and try and hack at him with the axe. So, Steo, if you could make a defense roll at -1, please. Just rolling it a few times to make sure that your mute's on.
Mute.
Oh, 20.
But I saw a
That's
20.
not what you want. That's a fumbled
That's not what I want.
defense. So the damage received is increased by 3. So if you give me an armor roll, please.
Ouch. I always forget my armor value. It's 1d.
That was a great song. I appreciated it a lot. Very Christmassy.
It was very good. Okay. Well, the +3 doesn't make too much difference then. Basically, he hacks at you with the axe, and you feel it kind of crunch on part of your chainmail, just kind of on your pectoral muscle, and the axe doesn't break through, but you're going to have a bruise there basically come morning. So take one toughness, please. So those are the 3 fortune hunters. Steo, I think John did a bit of a redaction on the rules for long. We really should learn these properly. You get a free attack when they engage you, and only 1 per turn. Okay, well in that case, we won't give you a free attack for this guy because you took it on the other guy. That's.
I'm also busy with the guy who's trying to strangle arguably the least useful member of the party, but still a member of the party. So I will take my attack against him.
So you're still striking at him. Yeah, the guy approaching wasn't thinking carefully enough to actually flank you or anything. He just ran directly at you. So now, I think if you hit this guy, he may flank you next turn. But hit the guy on Anton, the other guy may flank you next turn. But that's a problem for next turn, right?
The thing is, the F&A of the blender is awake now, so there's a limited amount of life left in this combat.
It's true. Give us an attack on that guy then, please. It's going to be at a +1.
Yeah, okay, I make it then.
Yeah. And then give me a damage roll.
Please, something good. Oh my god, 1 damage.
Okay.
Nice. That is exactly the way you wanted to roll those 2 dice.
Yeah.
Sure. So you strike the guy, and he kind of has his shield strapped to his back, and you just kind of you're thrown off by the strike from the man with the axe, and your halberd just thrust directly into the shield on the guy's back. You don't think he even registered that it happened, so not too much achieved there. Anton, what do you want to do first? Want to try and heave him off again first, or do you want to try and knife him first?
I think I might try and heave him off first.
Sure.
Yeah, let's try that.
Sure. So that's strong versus strong again at a -5. So I'm imagining you're looking for a 1 here.
1 or a 2 would do it. Oh, I got a 4.
Well, I mean that's double 2, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I double roll him off me.
No. So
right. Onto the stabbing.
Onto the stabbing. I'd say with your repeated heaving on him, you're basically putting him a bit off balance now. So I'm going to give you less of a penalty to your attack. So it's just going to be a flat attack. Flat rating.
But don't make it.
Sure. I think you're in a difficult position to be doing this. He's a much bigger guy than you. Out of interest, how much toughness do you have left?
6 left.
Okay,
before I hit
that's fine. You're fine.
That's fine. Take 6.
So, all of you who are stood around nearby now, there is a noticeable drop in temperature around the campfire, and you see the flames begin to flicker and wane slightly, and an odd tinge of blue appears around the edge of them. The odd breathing, rasping cry echoes out again, and this time it's close, so close that any of you who aren't, I would say anyone who isn't engaged in combat, so let's go with Ephanea, and here's where your 1 comes in. You glance over your shoulder and see emerging from the darkened woods a shape, and at first you struggle to make it out because it is both translucent and dark at the same time. The elements of it are kind of drifting off, fading away, roiling off from the central mass of it and disappearing into the night air. But at the center of this darkened, translucent form, you can see a pale, shining face. You're not sure if it's human or elf or ogre or goblin or anything, but you know instinctively that it does not live and has not lived for a long, long time. As it drifts forward kind of a few inches above the plant life underfoot, it reaches out with long spectral claws. And as you look at it, its lifeless, blank eyes shift roughly in your direction, and its facial features reconfigure and blend and shift until it looks just like you.
I don't like it.
John, could you add Omalkun to the initiative order, please?
I just need everyone to know that, unfortunately, in my head, I just hear it as "Oh Malcolm," so
oh Malcolm,
it a little bit for me. But I mean, it doesn't. That description was terrifying. But
good. Yeah, I'd say the other three of you are aware something is in this open campfire with you now, but you haven't kind of turned and really registered it. But everyone here knows that it is here. That you cannot be under the impression that everything is right with the world. So, Askarai. From you.
I think I have to try and finish this guy off. I can't. If I move, he's gonna get a hit on me. I'm gonna try to stab him as effectively as I can.
So that is an attack roll at +1, please.
Okay, I need a 16. I got a 17.
Awful. Are you going to do anything with your movement action? Get the fuck away from here.
Where am I relative to where this thing?
You are probably the furthest away. You and the kind of fortune hunter leader, I guess. You've backed yourself up a bit towards the river from the campfire, so you're kind of almost on the opposite edge of the campfire light now, kind of circling and dueling with each other.
In that case, I'm not gonna move out of combat still, since I'm not about to get
attack on you.
Like murdered by this thing. I'm gonna take my chances.
I would say, by the way, that at the end of your turns, everyone who isn't already aware of the thing, i.e., not Ephenea, will become fully aware of what it is and what it looks like and all those things. So, speaking of Ephenea, what's Ephenea going to do?
All right, so Ephenea sees a thing that looks directly like her now.
Mm-hmm.
How far away is she from Anton?
Everything is easily within one movement action range.
Well, what I want to do, Ephenea's line of thinking, this thing is clearly undead and unholy. We have a priest that is all about planets.
Yep.
If we free the priest, he might be of some help.
Free the priest!
Free the priest! And also, I feel a little bit uncomfortable about carving myself up. So she's basically going to take one look at this abomination and kind of shout, you can't see it yet. I'm me. That's not me. They're free action. No, wait, no. Damn. Can I take multiple free actions?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Yes.
I like that Ephenea is worried that there's going to be some kind of movie clone situation where Anton is going to stand up and go, But which one of you is the real FNA?
Yes,
That's
obviously.
very on brand for Anton, though, to be confused.
Yeah.
Like,
I
I
don't
just
know which
rescue
one to
him and he like
exercise.
stabs me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so gonna do that. Obviously, with my other free action, Berserker Rage.
Hmm.
We've got a face-off situation here,
Sure.
and I'm not okay with it. So
So you're gonna basically carve up the guy on top of Anton.
I'm gonna try and carve up the guy on top of Anton. So what am I rolling to hit?
You are rolling whatever your attack is at a +1.
+1. Excelente. Please roll me a good. Yes, it rolled me a good. Thankfully, I needed 16. I got 16. So that's
Okay. Give me a
fine.
damage roll then.
Okay. It is time.
Don't forget your berserkness.
I know. D64, D12. What a sexy fun time for us.
So ludicrous.
Right.
Just the notion that FNA can potentially deal 22 damage in one strike.
15. We've got 3 on my D4, 5 on my D6, and a 7 on my D12.
That'll do. So, Anton, from your point of view, this man's on top of you. You've got kind of your eyes locked with his, still fumbling at your knife. You're kind of trying to thrust it into his chest, but he's just moving enough to keep you from hitting a strong blow to penetrate his armor. He's still whispering Omalkun over and over again, all the way up until the point where Black Gift tears his head from his shoulders. It spins off into the night, crashes down a few feet away from you. Your eyes follow it, and you can still see for a few seconds after it hits the forest floor, the head still whispers the name of this undead abomination coming into the clearing with you. And you can, when we get to your turn, you're in a position to kind of rest the body off you. It's best not to think about exactly how much arterial spray is coating your face and robes at the moment. It's a problem for when all this is over. So we are on to the action of Omalkun. That's fun. So the thing is going to drift forward further into the light, although as it comes closer to the fire dims in rough approximation, so it never gets any more illuminated than when it was at the edge of the trees. And it is going to attack... You know what? I think it's going to attack the third Fortune Hunter, the one that's desperately trying to fight Steo, who kind of wheels round, gives sort of a faint, uncomfortable whimper, and dives towards Omalkun, desperately flailing at it with his axe, which just passes through the thing with no visible effect whatsoever. The Omalkun creature reaches out and just grasps the Fortune Hunter's face with his translucent spectral claws, and the Fortune Hunter just starts wailing a horrible, high-pitched, desperate wail, and you can see where the skin is blackening and flaking away around the Omalkun's claws.
Does
Fortune
it
Hunter
look
time.
like me?
Oh yeah.
I hate it.
Although no, you know what? Now the features on its face are starting to melt and shift, so it looks like the Fortune Hunter. It is doing whatever it is doing to devouring, withering, something awful. So we're on to the Fortune Hunter's turn. I think the one being attacked by the Omalkun really isn't doing much at all. The one who's just been decapitated, it's definitely has a very low list of options. So really, we want to the one fighting Askarai, who is going to turn and leap into the river. Are you going to exercise your free attack on him?
Yes.
Sure.
This bitch threw a knife.
Make that free attack.
Okay, I got a 10 out of 16, I guess. So I made it.
Give me your damage roll, please.
Okay. I got a 6.
You got a 6. As he turns to leap, you lunge forward with your dagger. It sinks right next to his spine, all the way up to the hilt in his back. He gives out, an odd noise and instead of leaping, he just kind of tumbles into the river. The river kind of like thrashes for a moment and then is still. Steo.
That's a good question. I don't think it's fair of me to have seen the attacks made against Spooky Ghost Friend.
I think you can. No, I think it is because I think you would have turned. I think you would have turned to look at that because the person you were attacking was dead by that point.
Yeah,
so I think it's fine. I think it's fine.
Crap. So tactically, I'm thinking about retreat because I've just seen normal weapons pass through this thing without impact. I kind of at this moment still want to protect Anton because I know he's handy against the undead. So what I might do is kind of okay. I've got a free action which allows me to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk. Can we get the boats ready? Can we run? With my movement action, I'm going to kind of get in front of. I'm going to help Anton up as much as I can. I'm going to make sure I'm in front of him. And I'm not going to take an attack action because that seems to be useless.
Mm-hmm. I think that's fine. Yeah, you've gone on Overwatch, basically. Non-Overwatch.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So you're standing by Anton ready to defend him and you're yelling for the boats to be prepared.
I am also making an effort to help him up if that gives him a bonus on his preparations.
I think it would. Yeah, I think it would. So, Anton, with that in mind, do you want to make a quick roll to try and get up quickly?
Yeah.
And I think with Steo's help, let's use Steo. What's your strength?
My strong is like 13.
Okay, then make a quick roll at +3, Anton.
I rolled a 1.
Ah, beautiful. In that case, I am going to judge not only do you get up, you getting up is a free action. So you still have your movement and your full action, because basically you kind of leap to your feet. You do not want to be lying on the floor in this situation, right? You've got a guy's blood all over you, his decapitated head next to you. There's this awful thing. You're leaping to your feet, and as you do so, Steel kind of grabs, the back of your robe and heaves you the rest of the way up. So you have a full turn.
How how packed up is our stuff? Like, is our stuff just grabbable and throw it on a boat and get the hell out of here?
I think it would. You'd lose things like maybe some bundles of firewood. You'd lose. I don't think you'd have much out. I think most things stay packed until maybe the only thing's actually your bedrolls.
Okay.
I think you'd struggle. You'd maybe have to, if you really wanted to get out as quickly as possible, you'd grab your pack, run to the boat and push it out, and maybe your bedrolls and maybe some of the cooking implements would be left behind. So if you want to gather those, that's going to be, an action.
And how much of a threat is this thing to the rest of the party? Like, how fast is it moving? Like, would I judge that I've got time to, we've all got time to escape from this thing, or am I going to have to attack it? Basically, I don't want to piss it off.
You're figuring, yeah, sure. You know what? That's an interesting question, Anton. Why don't you give me a cunning roll at just a -1? That's all I'm going to penalize you for it. Just a cunning roll at -1.
Why must you make him roll dice?
I haven't made it.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. You're just operating
That's
on the
fine.
information you have. That's fine.
Don't you have
yeah.
the
Be
thing that
poorly. Now is your time to shine.
I think I'm going to have to do that, right?
Literally shine.
We'll do the holy aura.
Sure.
We'll go for that. So I'm rolling against my resolute, and I make it.
Okay.
Yes.
So let me know then what are the full effects of that, please?
Okay, so it creates an aura of holy energy that is harmful to abominations and undead within sight. The target suffers 1d8 of damage, ignoring armor.
Mm-hmm. Do you not have?
It heals living creatures.
Okay.
As well.
Let's deal with the healing first. So for how much? Sorry, 1d4.
1d4. Yeah.
Okay. So everyone who has taken any toughness damage, roll a d4 and heal that much. Which I imagine pretty much heals everyone back up to full because everyone's only had nicks and scratches. Okay. And give me your DH roll, Mike, and tell me what the result is. And then I'll describe the stuff.
Oh, it's 1.
Sure. As Theo hauls Anton to his feet, Anton is already kind of has and contradict me if you don't want this to be how it seems, Mike. But Anton has his eyes closed already, and he's audibly muttering a prayer to Prios, sort of not even under his breath, like out loud.
I am going to correct you there because I have to maintain concentration and visibility of the thing that I.
Oh, you have to have your eyes open. Okay, that's fine.
So yeah, and
in that case,
a copper aura, I guess that I would.
Yeah. So Anton has his eyes locked on the thing, and he's just repeating over and over again prayers to Prios. But he's otherwise stood, kind of stock still, and a faint shining copper glow emerges around him. Those of you who are closest to the Omulkun thing can see just kind of little fragments of it along the edge of its already ragged form, kind of start sizzling and burning out at the very edges of its being. But it doesn't seem to be kind of paying too much attention to these things, but it's definitely having some form of effect on it. Those of you who have been healed feel yourself kind of warming internally against the coolness of the night air. I think we've had your holy aura activated before, right? So it doesn't come as a surprise to anyone. But Steel in particular, you actually believe in Prios, so you maybe have something of a religious reaction to this. Okay, that's the end of that round. We can safely remove the Fortune Hunters because the Omulkun kind of lets go of the man's face and he pitches over backwards to the floor, and kind of you can just see the kind of the upturned face now kind of like angled towards you all. His what remains of his features, a rictus of horror and pain, of kind of crusted black skin that's like flaking off and drifting into the night, and like bits of it, one eye, a side of his mouth is almost like starting to sink and cave in to whatever is left of the interior of his skull. Askarai.
Askarai, I'm going to. Are the kayaks tied up?
Yeah,
Are they just
I think
ashore?
what you will have done with them is you will have pulled them half onto the shore and tied them via a kind of length of rope to a nearby tree. I think that's probably what you've done.
I think I would just cut the rope.
Sure.
To get them off and try and get them in the water.
Yeah. I think untying them would be like a full action, and cutting them is like a movement action. I think that's fine. I think with your full turn, you could cut it through and push it onto push the boat onto the river.
Yeah, I think maybe. Well, I guess there's 2 of them, so I'd spend my full turn cutting both both of them free.
Sure. So you cut both the boats loose. That's absolutely fine. You dash between them, slashing through the relatively thin ropes quite quickly with your knife. That's 2 ropes down, incidentally, but that's fine. Ephenea.
Hello. Seeing that Antom's holy aura has managed to do some damage to this thing, she's going to kind of take a deep breath and black gift. She's going to invoke her black gift's black flame. So if we could remind me what the penalty is for invoking this.
Well, before we do that, I'm assuming you're charging at the thing as you're doing this and preparing to kind of use the dark power of black gift.
Yes.
Before you do that, as you're charging forward, could you give me a resolute roll at -5, please?
I can indeed. It's going to go terribly. Right. Oh god. Character sheet. Resolute. Right, cool. So we got to pray that I get a 5. I don't. I get a 10. I would have made it if it wasn't for that modifier.
Good. Okay. What the rest of you see is Ephenea charging forward, black gift held aloft, crying a fierce Odav war cry, and then stopping. Stock still. The creature kind of almost makes a slight gesture with one of its pale, claw-like appendages, and Ephenea slowly turns round and starts stumbling towards you. Black gift not held aloft yet, but definitely with kind of sword in hand. Anyone close enough can see that Ephenea's eyes just have odd black and white mist-like substance kind of rolling across them, reminiscent of the makeup of the creature itself. Ephenea, you are, and feel free to roleplay this however you want, effectively living through brief, odd glimpses of the memory of a horrific, dark, evil sorcerer that lived and died thousands of years before the name Ambria or Odav was ever spoken by any living being. So feel free to put Ephenea through that mentally in whatever way you choose.
So she is just kind of currently going through. She's experiencing all these memories.
Yeah, she's not in any place to like speak or act through it in any way. But it's more like when she comes out of it, that's what Ephenea has been going through.
All right, got it.
And this Omalkun, he did some bad stuff. So interpret that however you want.
I'm excited for my PTSD.
So, the Omalkun is going to move forwards. And as it does so, I would like every one of you who's not currently being possessed by the undead spirit of a semi-immortal, horrific nightmare being to give me a cunning roll at -1, please.
Make it.
Anyone?
No.
Yeah, I make it.
You make it. Great.
Nice.
Anton, and you were already hinting at this, so I think it's appropriate that you made the roll, that you were trying to evaluate what this thing wants. You don't think it's moving towards any of you. You think it's moving towards one of the packs that the Fortune Hunters have now left discarded on the floor around the camp. It's focused on that. Its claws reaching out. The arms they're attached to, like you know, they start out as human or humanoid length, but are kind of distended ever so slightly and elongated forwards in an unnatural fashion. It's reaching out and moving towards this discarded backpack now lying on the forest floor. Feel free to take a free action at this point should you want to say anything.
Yeah. Okay. I'll shout out for Effie to move away from it, and I'll shout out for everyone to leave it and to get back to the kayaks. Get back to the kayaks, and we'll. Oh, I guess I've only got communication action, right? So I can't really do anything other than that right now. Okay.
But it is Theo's turn now. So how is and yeah, the Omolkun is only taking. It kind of did take a combat action a little bit early by doing the bend wheel, but it was fun to do that. And it's only taking a movement action to move forward. So what is Theo doing now?
I'm trying to guide Anton back towards the kayaks and do what I can to rescue any of my pack or my possessions on the way. It's a bit of an acrobatics job, but just trying to shift the camp as quickly and as efficiently as possible onto the boats.
Absolutely.
I'm not attacking the scary ghost.
Sure. Absolutely. And you can do that successfully. You kind of haul backpacks and just kind of throw them bodily into the kayak and try and grab a bedroll and throw that in, try and just get as much in while you're dragging people backwards. Anton, what are you going to do?
Definitely not doing my holy aura. Definitely grabbing as much.
That's shutting down.
Yeah.
Sure.
Straight away. Yeah, grabbing as much stuff as possible. Like if Effie is still like in a bit of a daze, in a bit of a trance, if she's not really responding, then I'll sort of grab her and sort of haul her away as well.
Okay. It feels like at this point no one is about to attack this horrific spectral vision. Is that safe to say? Okay.
Yes.
I mean, F&A doesn't have a choice, but
Nope.
Okay. Can we remove the initiative order then, please? So, the four of you, you kind of drag. F&A is not resisting, but neither is she, you know, helping in any way. The three of you kind of scramble to get all your supplies into the kayaks and start to push them out into the river. Is that a safe assumption that that's what you're doing? You drift slightly offshore and look back. And as you do so, you see the Omolkun drifts over to the campfire, which is guttering now. It seems to be the flames are struggling against the darkness and odd, unnatural aura that the Omolkun is giving off. It reaches down, its claws slicing open the backpack of the fortune hunter, and it reaches in, grasps something, pulls it out and holds it aloft against the starlight that dances off a metallic, rusted steel sickle that it holds, turns slightly against the light from the moon and the stars, and then reaches down, softly puts it back within the folds of the translucent robes that surround it, and slowly drifts off among the trees.
It wasn't all that bad.
Ephenea, you have been kind of half dragged into a kayak at this point. It's difficult to get someone into a kayak who doesn't necessarily want to get into a kayak. And Ephenea just drops first to her knees and then just face plants on the edge of the river. And Ephenea, you come to, you as far as you're concerned, you're drowning. You know, you actually have, you know, it's just your face in the water, but you kind of scrabble up with a cry. And yeah, you've probably got very little idea of where you are or what is happening right now. Everyone else, obviously, you've seen what you've seen. The campfire has roared back to its full flame, showing the remains of the fortune hunters scattered around it.
Prios's teats.
I think, to be honest, FNA is just going to, for once in her life, be quite quiet as she's trying to get her surroundings and process the thousands of years worth of dark, horrible memories she's just experienced.
I think that's fair.
I'm gonna go over to Effie and sort of crouch by her and put my hand on her shoulder, and
She will jump a mile, I think.
yeah, maybe, yeah, Effie, talk to me. Tell me who you are. Tell me where we are. Tell me what we're doing.
Scry, let's haul these boats back out.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So yeah, I'll just turn to Anton and shake my head and just well, I wasn't sure for a while there. Everything was all memories were all mixed up, but it's me again, FNA. Where we're in Davokar for the that bitch Euphrinda. And yeah, I know who you are, Anton. I'm back.
Okay, I'll turn around and give a nod to Steo and Ascarai in case they were keeping an eye on what we were talking about.
Go and see what you can find off the rest of those traitorous wee scumbag Ambrians. Money and problems. This forest is like a poison.
As for what is on them, you find a number of throwing knives. Obviously, there's a couple of axes and the sword. Their backpacks. Otherwise, they had some very basic supplies in there. No food, but kind of like one of them had a bedroll, stuff like that. Nothing, like no treasures, no money, nothing.
So it looks like they were. FNA is just kind of limping like over, and just saying. So it looks like they were sent here for a very specific reason. Then
Was just going to say that, Effie. Who goes to an unopened tomb and only picks one item out of it? I vote we never find out.
The one item that's going to bring this horrible wraith after them as well.
You know what it's. You know, Ascarai best of all, what these flipping fly-by-night adventurers go in looking for some cursed item they read about in some wretched Ordomagica text and thinking they could be the ones to break it.
Yes. Fools.
Absolute cretins.
Just as a question, is the intent of the party now to spend the rest of the night here? Or is it safe to say that it's a couple of hours? It's a couple of hours till dawn. Perhaps call the night there, climb in your kayaks, and make your way forward, even though it's still dark.
yeah, that's basically. I don't think any of us are comfortable spending.
Absolutely. In that case, you pack up. You bring your supplies aboard the kayak. You dampen down the campfire. Is anything being done with the bodies? I mean, I'm sure you don't particularly feel like burying them, but is Anton saying some words over them?
No.
I spit on them.
Oh, he's changing already.
I like this edgy Anton.
You climb into the kayaks and sort of paddle off into the only slightly disturbed waters of the river, reflecting the starlight and the moon above. A day later, you sight where your destination. Ahead of you in the river, now that it's turned north, you see a rough wooden palisade, obviously only recently erected. You see a small jetty, quite similar to the one the Odav barbarians were at earlier. Again, fresh new cut wood. With inside the palisade, there's a kind of a small kind of one or maybe two chamber building. Again, very, very new, very freshly erected. And behind it, you can see a rough pathway leading off into the forest. Above the palisade hangs a flag, the Ambrian flag, the one slightly augmented with the arms of the Ordo Magica that you've seen flying at their tower in Thistlehold and any other Ordo Magica building where any of you have been. There is, from where you are on the kayaks, no sight of anything living. And I think we'll leave it there for the session.
Yay!
For 2020. Yeah.
What an
I was
ending!
going to think of a third thing, but I couldn't think of a third thing. So there.
Evanir's sanity.
Espanir's sanity. The well-being of everyone. So that's it. That's Symbaroum for 2020. We're taking a couple of weeks break over Christmas. So join us again on the 6th of January. That's Wednesday, the 6th of January. Same start time, 8 o'clock GMT. We'll be straight back into weekly from then on. In the meantime, if you've got any comments or questions, flag them up in the chat, pop them in there. John will pluck them out and present them on screen, and we can answer them for you. But in the meantime, if you miss us, don't worry. We're not going away completely over Christmas. We're going to have definitely one and maybe two streams that are kind of more roundtable podcast style. We'll be talking about tabletop roleplay stuff. The first one of those is going to be next Tuesday. That is Tuesday, the 22nd of December, again at 8 o'clock GMT. That's going over. If you watch our Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition series, it's going over the top of that in the usual slots. We might also have one the week after that, but we're not entirely sure about that yet, so we'll see. But if not, our next full actual play streams. The Symbaroum one will be on the 6th of January. The Vampire the Masquerade one will be the day before that on the 5th of January. Yeah, so there we go. We've got links down below to social media, Patreon, YouTube, where all our VODs sit, all that good stuff. Please feel free to check those out. And that's all my blurb. Really. So you know what? For the end of the year bit, why doesn't John join us as well on screen, even if we don't have any comments or questions?
Yeah, John.
We can say a big old. John is taking a while to do this, which means John was doing something. Eating or something otherwise awful.
I was checking the comments.
Okay, that's fair enough.
And also accidentally muted myself instead of bringing my camera on.
Good. So pop out those comments or questions if you have anything. But in the meantime, I'd just like to say, obviously, we only started this a couple of months back. We've done all right. We've done all right since. We've picked up a few followers along the way, and we've told some great tales, which is what we meant to do. And while I have people here, thank you to both of our stream managers, our excellent stream managers, John and Steve, for all the hard work they do. They're there busy behind the scenes doing stuff, and they don't even get to play. So massive thank yous to them. Massive thank yous to the players we've had. Every single one of them has put their heart into this and done a great job. So Mike, Chris, Sam, Elle, and also over on Vampire, we've got Justin, we've got John, we've got Neil, and we've got Pierre. And thank you to everyone else who's supported us or done anything in this, our first year of telling tales. Year asterisk, couple of months, but still. So thank you. Looks like we don't have any comments or questions this time around. So all that remains, thank you again, everyone. Have a wonderful festive period. Take care of yourselves. Check out our stream next week if you fancy some kind of podcasty action. And we'll see you next time.
Merry fucking Christmas.
Merry fucking Christmas. We'll see you in 2021, which cannot be worse, right? Cannot be worse.
Please don't jinx it.
Yeah, that's the GM curse right there.
GM curse. No, we'll all roll a 1 next year. It works in Symbaroum.
Not a D&D one.
Not a D&D one, a Symbaroum one. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.